So there are a few cheeky little rumours floating about the internet this morning talking about how Alex Palou might be joining Red Bull alongside Max Verstappen. So what is the history of IndyCar drivers moving to Formula One? We hear a lot about that situation in reverse, Formula One car drivers driving in Indy, but why is it so rare to have it flow the other way? So we're talking specifically started in Indy and then moved to Formula One. There have been a few drivers who've flipped back and forth, done a few races or a season in one, moved to the other and then moved back again. But we're talking started in America, moved to primarily Europe for Formula One. Names like Cristiano De Mata, Sebastian Bourdais, they made that switch. Didn't really work out, if I'm being completely honest. But drivers like Juan Pablo Montoya, very, very well known. He came over and did pretty well, drove for the Williams, but probably most successfully Jacques Villeneuve. However, it's not quite as straightforward as that because he had done a ton of racing in Europe. He'd done F3, Italian F3, sports cars. So he was used to driving a lot of the European tracks. So that definitely gave him an advantage. And he came into the Williams straight into a championship winning car. So he had a huge advantage and he had some experience. However, I have to talk about Mario Andretti because he moved to the US in the 50s. He drove in the equivalent of IndyCar full time, but also drove in Formula One. He didn't do every single race. He did select races throughout that time, but eventually moved full time to Formula One. In 1978, I think it was, he won the championship, and then he came back to the US and continued in IndyCar for years and years and years against even his son, Michael, eventually, who actually also went to Formula One, didn't work out at all. I think he raced with Senna. Anyway, but Mario Andretti, the most incredible career. Look it up. Go on Wikipedia. It's absolutely insane. So why is it so tough for IndyCar drivers? Well, for a start, they don't know the circuits. They're used to all the US circuits, which are primarily street circuits and ovals, and they're not necessarily used to these permanent racetracks that all the other drivers who've come up through the sort of F series, F3, F2, eventually to F1, are used to. The cars are much more complex, they're lighter, they have much more of an emphasis on aero. All the cars are different and, there's a constructors battle, whereas in Indy, essentially the cars are the same. And of course, they're not getting that exposure that the European-based drivers do. They're on their own, kind of separated in the US. So there are a whole bunch of reasons, but a few standout performers.